However, Krishna is advising Arjuna to establish himself in his pure constitutional position as spirit soul, beyond the dualities of material nature. As we have already pointed out, these dualities, such as heat and cold, pleasure and pain, pleasure and pain, arise due to the contact of the senses with their objects. In other words, they are born of identification with the body. Krishna indicates that those who are devoted to enjoyment and power are carried away by the words of the Vedas that promise heavenly enjoyment by sacrifice and regulated activity. Enjoyment is our birthright, for it is the characteristic of the spirit soul. But when the spirit soul tries to enjoy materially, that is a mistake. Everyone is turning to material subjects for enjoyment and is compiling as much knowledge as possible. Someone is becoming a chemist, or a physicist, or a politician, or an artist, or whatever. Everyone knows something of everything, or everything of something, and this is generally known as knowledge. But as soon as we leave the body, all of this knowledge is vanquished, in other words, destroyed. In a previous life, one may have been a great man of knowledge, but in this life, he has to start again by going to school and learning how to read and write from the beginning. Whatever knowledge was acquired in the previous life is forgotten. The situation is that we are actually seeking eternal knowledge, but this cannot be acquired by this material body. We are all seeking enjoyment through these bodies, but bodily enjoyment is not our actual enjoyment. It is artificial. We have to understand that if we want to continue in this artificial enjoyment, we will not be able to attain our position of eternal enjoyment. Identification with the body must be considered a diseased condition of the spirit soul. A diseased man cannot enjoy himself properly. A man with jaundice, for instance, will taste candy as bitter, but a healthy man can taste its sweetness. In either case, the candy is the same, but according to our condition, it tastes different. Unless we are cured of this diseased conception of bodily life, we cannot taste the sweetness of spiritual life. Indeed, it will taste bitter to us. At the same time, by increasing our enjoyment of material life, we are further complicating our diseased condition. A typhoid patient cannot eat solid food, and if someone gives it to him, the solid food given to him to enjoy, and he eats it, he has further complicated his sickness and is endangering his life. If we really want freedom from the miseries of material existence, we must minimize our bodily demands and pleasures. Actually, material enjoyment is not enjoyment at all. Real enjoyment does not cease. In the Padma Purana, it is said, Ramante yogino nante. The yogis, those who are endeavoring to elevate themselves to the spiritual platform, are actually enjoying, but their enjoyment is anante, endless. This is because their enjoyment is in relation to the supreme enjoyer, Rama, or Shri Krishna, or Bhagavan Shri Krishna. Bhagavan Shri Krishna is the real enjoyer, and in the Bhagavad Gita 9.29, he confirms this. Bhoktaram yagatapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram srihidam sarvabhutanam gyatva mam santim richati. A person in full consciousness of me meaning Krishna, knowing me, Krishna, to be the ultimate beneficiary of all sacrifices and austerities, the supreme lord of all planets and demigods, and the benefactor and well-wisher of all living entities, attains peace from the pangs of material miseries. Bhoga means enjoyment, and our enjoyment comes from understanding our position as the enjoyed. The real enjoyer is the Supreme Lord, and we are enjoyed by Him. An example of this relationship can be found in the material world between a husband and a wife. The husband is the enjoyer, Purusha, and the wife is the enjoyed, Prakriti. The word Prakriti means woman. Purusha, or spirit, is the subject, and Prakriti, or nature, is the object. The enjoyment, however, is participated in by both the husband and the wife. When actual enjoyment is there is no distinction that the husband is enjoying more or the wife is enjoying less. Although the male is the predominator and the female is the predominated, there is no division when it comes to enjoyment. On a larger scale, however, all living entities are Prakriti and are meant to be enjoyed by the Lord, the Supreme Purusha, or enjoyer. God expanded into many, and we constitute those expansions. God is one without a second, but He willed to become many in order to enjoy. We have experienced that there is little or no enjoyment in sitting alone in a room talking to oneself. However, if there are 5 people present, our enjoyment is enhanced. And if we can discuss Krishna before many, many people, the enjoyment is all the greater. Enjoyment means variety. God became many for His enjoyment, and thus our position is that of the enjoyed. That is our constitutional position and the purpose for our creation. Both enjoyer and enjoyed have consciousness, but the consciousness of the enjoyed is subordinate to the consciousness of the enjoyer. Although Krishna is the enjoyer and we are the enjoyed, the enjoyment can be participated in equally by everyone. Our enjoyment can be perfected when we participate in the enjoyment of God. There is no possibility of our enjoying separately on the bodily platform. Material enjoyment on the gross bodily platform is discouraged throughout the Bhagavad Gita. Matraspar sastu konteya sitos nasukadukadaha agama payano nityas tamstatikshasva bharata. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception, O Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. The gross material body is a result of the interaction of the modes of material nature, and it is doomed to destruction. Antavanta ime deha nityas yokta sarirana anasino primeyasya tasmat yudyasva bharata. The material body of the indestructible, immeasurable, and eternal living entity is sure to come to an end. Therefore, fight, O Arjuna. This is Bhagavad Gita 2.18. Sri Krishna therefore encourages us to transcend the bodily conception of existence and attain to our actual spiritual life. Guna nitan atityatrin dehi deha samud bhavan janma mrityu jara dukkhair vimukto mritam asnute. When the embodied being is able to transcend these three modes, goodness, passion, and ignorance, associated with the material body, he can become free from birth, death, old age, and their distresses, and can enjoy nectar even in this life. Bhagavad Gita 14.20. To establish ourselves on the pure spiritual platform, or Brahma Bhuta platform, above the three modes of material nature, we must take up the method of Krishna consciousness, the gift of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, facilitates this process. This method is called Bhakti Yoga or Mantra Yoga, and it is employed by the highest transcendentalists. How the transcendentalists realize their identity beyond birth and death, beyond the material body, and transfer themselves from the material universe to the spiritual universes are the subjects of the following chapters. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So I'm reading from the book Beyond Birth and Death. It's a very nice book. Okay, so do you have any questions? Any questions or comments from what I read? Yes, Prabhu.
A lot of our activities are driven by the senses because people go to football matches because they like the vibe, the noise, or the vision, right?
Right.
And similarly, devotees also come to temple more, very satisfied with this one. So both cases, it's senses getting involved, or it is not the senses that is getting involved. What differentiates devotees coming to temple and satisfied with looking at Krishna and
Consciousness are eternal. The football, baseball, basketball, pastime, soccer, it's nonsense. It's temporary. It's not eternal. But anything related to Krishna is eternal. So when you chant Hare Krishna, you're involved in something that is eternal, that can take you back to Godhead if you continue seriously. But you go to a baseball, have you gone to many baseball, or soccer games?
so in my case, before Krishna consciousness,
Yeah,
I used to get pulled into watching football matches.
football. Okay.
Matches.
Do you remember anything about those matches?
Now they are dwindling. Memories are dwindling.
That's the whole point.
In both cases, Maharaj, in both cases, senses are involved, right?
What?
In both cases, the senses are involved. In one case, is like, can we say the senses are purified versus the other case, the senses are not purified?
No, obviously, if you engage in mundane activities, your senses become contaminated, right? What are mundane activities? Meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, and all kinds of nonsense talk. Talk only about making more money, or the car you're going to buy, or the vacation you're going to take. Well, you work in a company, right? What do your coworkers talk about?
Try to separate myself out now. Stay focused on work, yes. They can go on stocks,
Stocks, yeah, right? Okay. Vacations,
vacation,
yeah, yeah.
throwing jokes.
Jokes, bad jokes, yeah. So you see, all that is it's mundane, right? It doesn't help you spiritually. In fact, anything, it can hurt you spiritually by hearing all that nonsense. You see. So we have to be very careful. We have 9 holes in the body, right? 2 eyes, 2 ears, 2 nostrils, a mouth, and an anus, right? Whatever goes in those 9 holes will determine who you are. So, if we associate with people who are always talking nonsense, right? That's going into, your ears, your 2 ears, and it's affecting your mind, right? And then if you see someone that you work with at lunch eating meat, again, that hurts your mind, right? The person is like eating and enjoying it like anything, and he said, "Oh, this is so good," right? But it's actually very sinful to eat meat. They don't think it's sinful. So to associate with people like that, there is a risk that you could become bewildered. The bewilderment is, this person's eating meat, and he thinks it's like, the real enjoyment of life. He doesn't understand that, some animal has been killed for him to eat meat, and now he's eating part of the animal. There's blood in it also. It's a horrible thing. Or he's drinking some alcohol. Again, a horrible thing. But some people think it's enjoyment. But a devotee looks at it with horror and understands this is terrible. So if you associate with devotees, then you will not be fooled to think that eating meat and drinking wine and beer and all these things, you will not be fooled to think that it's good to do that. You'll understand that it's disgusting. Actually, it's sinful. You see? So we have to become very, let's say, Krishna conscious, to only do things that Krishna accepts. So if someone offers you a hamburger, you have to ask yourself a question. Does Krishna accept hamburger? Answer, no. That means I'm not going to eat it, right? But if someone gives you an apple, then you can say, does Krishna accept an apple? Answer, yes. I can eat the apple. So whatever Krishna accepts, that's what we offer him. And whatever he doesn't accept, we should not touch. That means that our principle of acceptance is clear. Whatever Krishna accepts, we do, and whatever Krishna doesn't accept, we don't do. Now life becomes a lot more simple. You don't have to do any experimentation. Everybody likes to experiment. You don't have to do any experimentation. Krishna does not accept meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, etc. Wine, beer, all that stuff. So therefore, we have a baseline of knowledge. What Krishna accepts, we do. What he doesn't accept, we don't do. That means we become what you would call educated. So our children should be educated like that. They should be educated to accept what Krishna accepts and does, and they should be educated not to accept what materialistic people do because Krishna doesn't accept that. That way you become educated. Then the kids will refuse to eat meat and talk nonsense. So that is real education. Real education is not you go to school and then you learn about mundane subjects all the time, such as, you have the kids end up trading baseball cards in school. Right? Have you ever done that? trading baseball cards.
Kids do some similar things.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's complete nonsense. Waste of time, waste of money. Some kids spend a lot of money on baseball cards, football cards, and so forth. So I remember one time I had a friend of mine, and he had a young boy. And when I went to see him, he and his wife at their house, the boy was Krishna conscious. He was only like 4 or 5 years old, but he was really Krishna conscious, right? Now, the next time I went back, maybe 2 years after that, the boy now had gone to school for like first, second grade. And when I walked into their house, I saw something very strange. There were dinosaurs all over the house, everywhere, all different sizes. And when I talked to the kid, I said, Hare Krishna. And he says, no, I just got this new dinosaur. He forgot Krishna completely. He was just talking the whole time about this dinosaur, Brontosaurus, and Blastosaurus, and this one and that. He had become completely dinosaured, whereas before he was Krishnized. See? So, and that happened only in a period of 2 years. 2 years before that, I went there. The boy was Krishna conscious. There was not one dinosaur in his house. Right? He went to school for 2 years, and the next time I went back, there was no Hare Krishna. There was no pictures of Krishna or anything. It was all dinosaurs. You see how dangerous material life is. And, who gave him all those dinosaurs? His parents. So we have to be very careful to educate children properly. Otherwise, there's a competition for the brain of a child. And the demons are competing with the devotees for that child's, let's say, culture. So the demon culture is meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, and learning all kinds of unholy things and so forth. And our culture is chanting Hare Krishna, eating only Krishna prasadam, etc. So we have to decide which culture we're going to follow. Unfortunately today, the education in the United States is so bad. I mean, it is junk, absolutely junk, right? No kid is getting a proper education. Now, someone will say, what are you talking about? My kid's going to Harvard. He's getting a good education. Yeah. No, he's not. No, he's not at all. Why? Because he's just learning material things. Eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. That's what animals do. You see, he's not really learning anything. Yeah, he's learning things, but nothing that's going to help him become liberated from the cycle of birth and death. Yeah.
Guru Maharaj, just when you say Harvard, university, right?
Yeah.
Just I heard some.
Just speak louder so everyone can hear. Yeah.
Just see that one of the prominent Swamiji in ISKCON is going to Harvard for education in the religion, and so I can see both sides of the coin there. One is using a great avenue to spread Krishna consciousness, to have discussion, and at the same time also is going to inspire others. Even the Swamijis are inspired to go to Harvard, take the education, and we also want to go to Harvard. Means we ourselves setting up Harvard is a very prominent. So how do we balance these like two sides of coin? There is a positivity, there is a negativity also.
Well, Prabhupada went to Harvard also, only once, but he went to preach. So we can go to different places like Harvard, but only for preaching, not for, you want to get an education at Harvard. That's not really education, that's indoctrination. Harvard and other Ivy League colleges. I went to an Ivy League college, University of Pennsylvania, right? So Ivy League college. I didn't learn anything about God. They weren't talking about God at all there. And I didn't learn anything good. I learned a lot of bad things, but nothing good. So the education in the United States is not good at all because the principle of the education is what you call, what is it now? Jeez, I'm forgetting. It's based on humanism. You know what humanism is? Look it up on the dictionary. I mean, your cell phone. You're going to be shocked. The whole philosophy of education in the United States is based on humanistic philosophy. Okay, here we go. What's it say?
Humanism is a diverse philosophical stance that emphasizes the importance and agency of human beings, prioritizing human reason, ethics, and dignity over supernatural beliefs.
See, when they say supernatural beliefs, they're talking about spiritual. Go ahead.
Over supernatural beliefs or divine authority.
See that divine authority, that's Krishna. Supernatural things, that's Krishna consciousness. See? That's rejected. Go ahead.
It encompasses a commitment to human flourishing.
Human what?
Flourishing.
Fruition.
No, flourishing.
Flourishing.
Uh,
Flourishing.
Using reason and science to understand the world and solve problems, and acting with compassion to create a better future for humanity.
That's complete hogwash. Complete hogwash. Of course, if you're a dumbbell, you think, oh, that sounds really great. No, but they're just talking, they're just what you would call, it's like having a dead man. The dead man, they decorate the dead man for the final wake, right? So one time, two friends were talking at the funeral, right? And then, people were coming one by one and looking at the dead guy, right? So when these two guys who were friends of the dead guy, they came up and they looked at him, and one said to the other, he looks better dead than alive. Because, the undertaker, they'd give him a real, working over, make him look like, I don't know, maybe some a movie star or something. So this is what is American education. It's all a bunch of phony nonsense, right? It doesn't teach you education. What real education is to learn how to free yourself from the cycle of birth and death and go back to the spiritual world where we came from originally. That's real education. This other education that they teach is basically meat eating, gambling, illicit sex, intoxication, speculation, and all kinds of what you would call temporary things. Whereas real education, you're dealing with eternal things, you see. So Krishna consciousness education is about things that are eternal and how to achieve that eternality. Mundane education is all about things that will come and go. And they're not eternal, they're temporary, you see. So, for example, if you learn, let's say, something, 20 years ago, like, for example, some kind of, I don't know, some kind of a teaching of Anyway, 20 years later, that thing has become, what do you call it, obsolete, right? A lot of things become obsolete, and you got to get educated again on something new, right? But Krishna consciousness, nothing becomes obsolete in Krishna consciousness because everything is eternal. So you see, this obsolete culture is full of what you would call anxiety. What you learned 20 years ago is not in vogue anymore. And you have to get re-educated about something else because that whatever they taught you before is now obsolete. And that causes a lot of anxiety because you have to learn something new. You know, after going to school, 14, 20 years, and then you get a job, and then, there's new types of, knowledge that come about, and now you have to start all over again, study something else, to keep your job. So you see, that's not Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness is dealing with things that are eternal, that never change, that always expand but do not change. So therefore, this whole nonsense of modern education is changing all the time. And it causes anxiety because you can lose a job because you don't know how the next step, like AI. You don't know anything about AI, so you have to get re-educated, right? Then after AI, there's going to be IA. That's another thing I got to learn. After learning AI, I have to learn now IA, So this is going to go on forever. But Krishna consciousness is eternal and it never changes. If anything, it expands, but it doesn't change, right? So you can expand, but it doesn't change. Krishna is always going to be Krishna. But Krishna has infinite activities and infinite pastimes. So you're still talking about Krishna, but there's an infinite variety of who Krishna is and what Krishna is doing. But in the material world, you get a job, you study, you think you have a steady job, and then there's something new that comes in, like AI or something like that, and I have to start all over again, or else you get thrown out, and you have to, get trained in some other way of making a living. So the best thing is to become Krishna conscious, because Krishna consciousness will prepare you to go back to the spiritual world. AI, IA, XYZ is not going to help you to go back to the spiritual world. But that's what the real purpose is of the human body. It's the opportunity with human intelligence to understand a relationship with Krishna, act in that relationship, and eventually go back to the spiritual world by remembering the name of Krishna at the moment of death. Okay, so what do you want? You want to keep dying and taking birth again, and and no guarantee what the next body is going to be. See, there are 8,400,000 species, so you might have a human form now, but next life you can be an animal or a cockroach. It all depends on what your consciousness is. Hare Krishna, Guru Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. So the best, there's a nice saying, take the best and leave the rest. So take the best, that means Krishna consciousness, and leave the rest, that means nonsense. All the nonsense that you learn in college, all the nonsense you learn in your business, it might be temporarily helpful to make some money, but it's not going to help you at the moment of death. Not at all. Zero. Right? Okay, any questions or comments or anything you want to argue about? Yes. Yes, bro. Yes. I just understood the second thing you said, but the first thing I didn't understand. Well, let's look at it like this. At the moment of death, everything you learned in science, is it going to save you? You see, the original culture was Krishna consciousness. So the carpenter was a devotee, the shoemaker was a devotee, and they were all working together, right? Today, it's not like that, you see. Yeah. What? You can? Yes. Yeah. I didn't say you can. But see, previously, everything was organized around with Krishna at the center. You understand? If you go back to the time when Krishna was present, right? Yeah, there was cows, there were cows, there were horses, there were nice palaces and so forth. Everything was there, but it was all centered around Krishna. Today, you go to Harvard, or you go to Princeton, or you go to any of these schools, there's no Krishna there. It's all nonsense, right? And you don't really get an education. In Harvard, they don't really educate you. They teach you to be a speculator. In fact, they actually say that speculation is good. We say it's very bad. But in college, they say you have to learn how to speculate. You see. So what you're learning in these schools is not very good for Krishna consciousness. It might be good to get a job, maybe, but it's not good for your Krishna consciousness. So you have to be very careful. Like, for example, someone who becomes, look at Janavatsal, right? He never went to school, right? He never went to school. But he makes money with odd jobs because he learned, how to do certain things, right? He can do handyman work, and he's very good at fixing things and so forth. So, without you know how much it costs to go to college now? It's like thousands and thousands of dollars, right? He never went to college. He graduated maybe he graduated from high school. I don't know if he did graduate, but he learned to do some trade, and he maintains himself, right, very nicely, and doesn't have any problem. So you don't really have to go to school. What you have to do is understand who Krishna is and how to please Krishna, and therefore you avoid sinful activities. But you do engage in activities that are pleasurable for Krishna. So, you can cook for Krishna, you can speak for Krishna, you can do so many things for Krishna. Right? You can be a tailor and make dresses and clothing for Krishna and so forth. So when you have a Krishna at the center of your life, then you're doing things that are creative, but it's all related to Krishna. That was Vrindavan. That's still Vrindavan. Vrindavan is a place where everyone is focusing their life and their job and everything on Krishna. Have you been to Vrindavan? Okay, what did you see there? How about the businessmen and things like that? Yeah. Yeah, they have the tailors and everyone, and they're making things for Krishna, everyone. So you have a town of about 5,000 people, and it's all focused on doing things for Krishna, right? You've been to Vrindavan, right? Yeah, it's a nice place. And it's one of the best places in the world. Yeah. Okay, so any other questions or comments? Yes. You have a question? Oh, you don't. You went like this. That's what you Any other questions? You don't have a question, Mataji? Yeah, I know you do. I know you do. Good. Yeah.
Krishna says in Gita, you don't worry about fruit, but you have to just do karma and don't expect your result.
Okay, one second. What do you understand by karma?
Karma means the work what we do, or that is only my understanding. The work.
Okay. Yeah. All right, go ahead now and ask your question.
But in present environment, if we don't expect any result, how we will encourage ourselves to do any karma or any how we will do work if we don't expect the result or if we don't expect anything, because we have to do our work in that direction. So how we will decide that, or how we will process, how we'll do that work if we don't expect the result, or if we don't if we don't want that fruit. If we want that fruit, then we put our effort. If we don't want, then how we will do the work.
Okay, so this is a very good question. Very, very good question. When it says, how can we, basically you're saying, if we do everything for Krishna, how are we going to, pay the bills for our house, and how are we going to buy a car, and how are we going to take our children to school, this thing and that thing, right? But no, everything we do should be whatever Krishna accepts. So he accepts, let's say, milk, but he doesn't accept beer, right? So that's the way we have to plan our life. We should only do those things that Krishna accepts, and we should not do those things that Krishna doesn't accept. Okay? So Krishna accepts milk, he accepts juices, etc., right? So if we only deal with things that Krishna accepts, we'll have a full life, and it'll be very healthy, and it'll be very, let's say, spiritual, and all unnecessary things, gross, nasty things, we avoid. Right? So to answer your question, we only do things that please Krishna. But millions of things please Krishna. Right? He likes chanting Hare Krishna. He likes dancing. He likes poetry. He likes so many things. So if we can have a full life simply pleasing Krishna and avoiding all nasty things in life, or all things that are unclean or gross. We avoid all that. And everything we do for Krishna are very nice things, healthy things, spiritual things. So Krishna is a person, right? When he was on the earth, he ate, he chanted, he sang, He traveled here and there. So, you know, he needed, he had to sleep somewhere, and so he was a real person, and but he was the supreme personality of Godhead. So, therefore, Krishna has everything that we have and more, but nothing that is unclean, nothing that is vulgar. Everything is paka with Krishna. So all the bad things are eliminated when you become Krishna conscious. Okay? Any other questions? That thing was nice, taking you apart, huh?
We have been told to take out. We can keep it permanent.
It looks nice. I got used to seeing it here.
So Maharaj, we'll do it during the Thanksgiving weekend, 2 days.
When?
When is Thanksgiving? That is a Friday and Saturday.
November
November.
28th, 29th.
Oh, what is that?
I'll tell you, Maharaj.
When Kirtan.
That is Thursday? Thursday. So 28th and 29th, Maharaj. November 28th and 29th.
What are you doing?
This Kirtan.
Oh, kirtan again.
Non-stop Kirtan.
Yeah, non-stop. Okay,
So
good.
so this is all done by Rameshwar Radhika Mataji. So she will do it.
Okay, wait a minute. Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. But I thought we were supposed to chant Hare Krishna all the time.
We can't wait for those days.
Okay, well, thank you very much, my dear devotees. And chant Hare Krishna and be happy. Jai. All glories to Prabhupada ki jai. Our takeaway for today, I forgot. Our takeaway for today is in the Bhagavad Gita, 2.14, Sri Krishna points out that all of our miseries are due to false identification with the body. Matra sparsasta konteya sitosna sukadukadaha agamapayano nityasasprabhavati. O son of Kunti, the non-permanent appearance of happiness and distress and their disappearance in due course are like the appearance and disappearance of winter and summer seasons. They arise from sense perception. O Skayana Bharata, and one must learn to tolerate them without being disturbed. In the summertime, we may feel pleasure from contact with cold water, but in the winter, we may shun the very water because it is too cold. In either case, the water is the same, but we perceive it as pleasant or painful due to its contact with the body under different conditions. That's our takeaway today.
False identification is like this false identification is like a biggest problem.
False identification.
My children, my house,
This
my
is a false
family.
identification. How to avoid this, Maharaj? Because while
Yeah, because my house, my children, my family, my boundaries. My expertise, my domain. Yeah.
Good thing that we learn that everything belongs to Krishna, nothing belongs to me. I
We need your
kids come and shake it.
Yeah, kids can't break it. That's good. Haribo, Haribo, Haribo.
And thank you, Maharaj. We saw you practicing harmonium today.
Yeah?
We,
Where?
I mean,
You came to the
no, Chaitanya Sundar sent a video.